My name is Sam Ace. Join me on my journey as I create space for conversations with some of Africa's finest individuals, those who are shifting the needle through the work that they do. We shine a spotlight on people who are making a positive impact in our society. This is the new generation of business leaders, philanthropists, social entrepreneurs, influencers, artists, the list goes on. On this show, you will hear their stories, how they gained their success, what challenges they faced, and what lessons they have learned. This is Impact Africa with Sam Ace. Hello everyone and welcome to Impact Africa. My name is Sam Ace, and in today's episode I have the privilege of being in conversation with Ros Toerien. Roslyn is the co-founder of the Learn Project, a non-profit organization that goes into communities and helps children in need. In a moment, I will let Ros do all the talking and talk to us about what it is that she does. For now, help me welcome Roslyn to the show. Hello, Roslyn.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am proudly South African, first and foremost. I'm a mom of 3 beautiful children. My daughter is 12, and I've got 2 boys, 10 and 5. We live in Durban, and I'm a teacher at heart. That's what I studied, and I taught for a number of years. And my passion is education and children. My heart is for children and seeing stories unlocked.
That's incredible, Roslyn. So without wasting any time, I want to just get straight into it. What is the Learn Project? What it is that you do and how does it work?
So firstly, Learn is an acronym for Let's Educate a Rainbow Nation. And that's exactly what we intend to do. We are passionate about the work that we do, and we are so encouraged by the stories that we are seeing on a daily basis and the lives that are being impacted along the way. This is our 10th year of the Learn Project, and we are so encouraged by the changes that we are seeing in the schools that we are impacting. To date, we've impacted 17 schools, and I think what's so special about the work that we do is we really invest in the whole school approach. So it's not just a once-off donation. What we do is we identify beneficiary schools, which are schools that do not have the resources that they need relating to books. And we establish senior primary libraries as well as foundation phase book corners. So we take a school that is in need, we work together with the principal and the teachers, and we partner with the school. So it's an ongoing partnership and a relationship. We actually consider our schools family, part of the Learn family, and in the work that we do, we set up senior primary libraries as well as junior primary book corners, and we train and encourage teachers to take ownership of the libraries. We equip them with everything that they need to ensure that the library is sustainable and functional, because for us it's about the long-term vision. It's not just short-term impact. It's all about the long-term sustainability of the work that we do and the lives that are being impacted on a daily basis of the children that enter the door. Our libraries are yellow, as you can see. I'm wearing yellow, and that is one of our...
You look incredibly gorgeous.
Thank you. Yellow is just a symbol of joy and happiness, and the hope for the libraries that we create is that children will walk into a room of inspiration where they gain knowledge and they can be unlocked, and the stories within them can be unlocked. A room filled with knowledge, and I think the power of a book is that a book is a gift that one can open again and again. And we try and place a variety of books in the library. So it's done according to the Dewey Decimal System. Every book is catalogued and accessioned into a register, and all books are covered in plastic and put onto the shelves according to the Dewey system, which we educate the learners on as well as the teachers. in the libraries that we do, I think every year we try and grow and develop, and we remain current and up to date with the latest information regarding literacy and literacy progression and development, and we boost our existing libraries with more books and resources. And every few years we go back and we revamp libraries that we've done to bring them up to standard of our current libraries. So we also believe in empowering young children with leadership qualities, and so we train library monitors, and they take their roles very seriously, but we have lots of fun along the way, and they get their little badge that says library monitor. And we train and equip them on the use of the library, and they become the reading ambassadors for their schools.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And it's so important because there's an educational part to it, training, and it's not just a library, a room that they can just walk into and it's filled with books, but you train them on how to navigate the space, on how to make use of it so that they can be equipped and empowered through these books. You obviously have a passion for education.
Yes.
And young children. Where does this come from?
So I think education has always been of value to me, and I've held it close to my heart. And you know, in being a teacher and having qualified as a teacher and having taught for a number of years, when I first had my daughter 12 and a half years ago, she really inspired and encouraged me, because I now had a child of my own, and I think as a mom you also grow and learn through your children, and I think that's where clarity on my purpose and my passion in life came, with wanting to provide equal opportunity for other people that were from impoverished backgrounds and less fortunate than ourselves. So
the work that you are doing is absolutely incredible and obviously making a huge impact. And I was looking at the stats of the impact that you're making, and I'm going to read it. You have facilitated over 50,000 book donations. That's over 50,000 books. That's quite incredible. 17 libraries and over 260 book corners or reading corners. Can you tell us more about that? That must have been quite a journey and also a lot of work.
So I think impact involves action and collaboration.
Yeah.
So firstly, I'd just like to start with the importance and the value we place on volunteers and partnership. So for us, it's all about community and collaboration and moving, empowering South Africa forward together. Holding on to a dream and a vision would never be as impactful if you kept it to yourself. So it's about opening that space up and giving people an opportunity to partner with us and to move forward and to power the movement of the Learn Project forward, so we can impact more schools and change more lives. So I'm so grateful to our community of volunteers. We to date have donated just under 60,000 books. The number's
incredible.
Sitting just under 60,000 now. And those, to clarify, are books that are all accessioned into registers and have been covered in plastic, because that's part of our sustainability program, is that it's great distributing books, but if the purpose of the book is to be read and to be read and read again for generations to come, hopefully, they would last longer if they were covered in books and plastic. So that was our number one priority, is that every book, yes, it will take us longer, but it will last longer too. So every book is covered in plastic. There have been a number of distributed books over and above that, which have gone to children's homes and other areas into the hands of children, but that count as our books that have gone into schools and transformed schools. 17 libraries, we have partnered with 17 schools, and we are just so grateful for those partnerships, because we've met incredible principals and teachers along the way, and that motivates us and moves us forward as well as learners who have been impacted through the libraries that have been provided at their schools.
That's absolutely incredible. And I've never thought about a book's lifespan because they are covered in plastic until I saw recently my son coming home with the school books that he is practicing reading with. And I saw some of the date stamps, 1982.
Yes.
I was like, boy, that was even before I was born. So that is such an interesting fun fact about books.
Yes.
But what is so important, or why is it important for the Learn project to partner with like-minded people, organizations, and communities for this project or for this initiative to work? Because I'm pretty sure that you place a huge emphasis on collaboration and partnerships. Why is this important for you and for this to work?
So there's definitely power in collaboration, and there are so many people out there that really want to make a difference, but they just don't know where to start. So for us to provide a space where people can come together and offer their time, I really feel time is our greatest resource. So a space where people can come and give of their time and contribute to the process that takes us to the end product of a fully functional and sustainable library. So we provide a space where people can come and join us at a book covering party, and we host book covering parties, and we get together and we have fun while we cover books, and we reach targets, and we keep our Learn supporters up to date with where we're at and what we've achieved and what ultimately they've helped us achieve. So we partner with donor schools. So that's one of our key contributors, is partnering with donor schools where we do book drives and book collections, as well as corporate companies and individuals. So we would go to a school that's a donor school, they partner with us. I do motivational assemblies with the learners, just encouraging them to read and talking about the power of a book. And I think especially in a digital society where information is now rapidly being shared via social media and digital technology, I would never want to lose the power of an actual book. So while there is lots of credit to that changing world, there is so much power and value in preserving the importance of a book. So in partnering with our donor schools, we go and we do these assemblies, we share with the learners on the Learn project and in where these books are going. Our dream is to partner more donor schools with a beneficiary school, but we've successfully done it at DPHS in Durban, and they have partnered with one of our beneficiary schools, Sapunga Primary. Now every year during Literacy Week, we bring the grade 3 learners from Sapunga Primary to DPHS, and they buddy and partner with a learner at DPHS. And to see these children walk into a school and make a friend with someone they never knew before, and the mutual joy that is just contagious from that day has just been amazing. And it's through those partnerships that we are able to collect more books, distribute more books. So many high school learners are doing community service hours for life orientation. So that's another way that we've partnered with wonderful students who have given of their time to help us clean books that are donated, because we have these massive book drives, and then we sit with hundreds, if not thousands, of books that need to be first checked. Are they relevant to a South African child? Are there missing pages? The books that we put into a library, we want to be quality books so that a child learns to appreciate the book that they are reading. And the example that is set, if a book is missing pages or it's got writing in it, they're less likely to take it seriously. So we do scan and check the books that are donated, and then we get our volunteers to help us with the process of cleaning the books, placing our Learn sticker in the back for accountability, and covering the book in plastic.
That is absolutely incredible. So this goes beyond just handing a school with a bunch of books. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I absolutely love that you've got donor schools where you're involving students from from other schools that are donating books with where the books are going and those kids, informing, helping them form and cultivate relationships. I think that's really powerful, and it just goes beyond a book being donated to a school or to a child. Now, you touched on something really important, that you partner with the whole school. There is such a valuable lesson to learn when we do social impact projects and wanting to transform an entire school or an entire community. And I see what you are doing is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you want to transform the whole school through these libraries and through these initiatives in the school. So starting with the headmaster to the educators to the learners. Is this true? Are you transforming schools and the entire network of a school through this initiative?
Absolutely. That is our goal, is to create a holistic change looking at the whole school approach, because I think we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. In the beginning, we did just focus on senior primary, now called InterSyn libraries, and we realized very quickly that learners that were entering grade 4 in these schools from rural communities had been taught in isiZulu from grade R to grade 3. They enter a InterSyn phase and everything is taught in English. And so when they enter a library in grade 4, their level of reading naturally is behind. So we saw this gap, and we wanted to bridge that gap from foundation to InterSyn phase to assist teachers in the classroom, because it's not, if you cannot read, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our goal was to change that narrative and to assist the foundation phase with placing books in every classroom. So we place 60 books in every foundation phase classroom on a bookshelf, beautiful, comfortable rug cushions, and we create language-rich environments.
Wow.
So we walk into spaces that are really quite stark, and there are no charts on the walls, but we are seeing passionate educators that, despite the environment that they are in, are creating incredible impact through their teaching and their heart for change and education. So we place classroom book corners, and we also create beautiful spaces with the alphabet charts. Our alphabet charts are proudly South African, so they're conversation starters. For example, P is for Protea. We hope to create language-rich environments, which is why we place so much importance not just on the book corners that we're establishing, but in the classroom that we're transforming. So we've come up with our own proudly South African alphabet charts, which every letter has a meaning, and they're conversation starters in a classroom, which is wonderful. So, for example, N is for Nelson Mandela, A is for Africa, F is for flower. And when you look at it, yes, it's a flower, but then for the older grades, the teacher can go into more of a discussion on, can anyone tell me what flower this is? And you'll have a child put up their hand and they'll say, I think that's a protea. Some children don't know what a protea is. Now they've got the image in front of them, and then the teacher could say, and where would you find a protea? And they could go into a discussion on that. So yeah, we've created alphabet charts for classrooms, number charts, and library and book corner rules. So our spaces and places that we are creating are beautiful spaces where learners want to learn, they are encouraged and motivated, and teachers now in foundation phase have resources that they can use in their daily classroom teaching. Then our InterSyn libraries, the reason why we have bridged that gap in having foundation phase book corner, InterSyn library, is that it narrows that gap between foundation and InterSyn phase. So a child walking out of grade 3 and into grade 4, now having everything taught in English to them, it's quite a new and overwhelming concept if their English is not strong. So to assist teachers and to assist learners, having a library that has a variety of books from fiction to non-fiction, teacher resources, reference books, dictionaries, as well as a relatively new introduction to our libraries is leveled readers. Now, in many of our donor schools, a leveled reader would just be considered mainly for your foundation phase. But for learners where they are English as a second language, and we're wanting to bridge that gap, where questions are being asked in tests and exams in English, we want to strengthen the English, we want to encourage them, and we don't want them overwhelmed. So having access to a room full of books was wonderful, but we readily learned that we needed to also add books of a much easier level to bridge that gap for the struggling learners.
Wow, and one never really go deeper into some of the challenges that school-going children may be facing in their school environment, such as this. And I love how you are building bridges and breaking these educational barriers, as you say, at Learn Project. But schools are different, and some you'll find that they will adapt to what you are doing easily and transition easily. How do you identify some of these challenges in some of the schools? Because schools are different. They could be in a similar setup, but once you go in and start building relationships, you start picking up on different challenges. How do you diagnose these challenges in order to tailor make the response for each school?
I think part of our solution for that, it is ongoing. You're always going to have challenges in life. An example of that was when we were thrown into the middle of a pandemic, and a lot of our schools, firstly, when schools were closed, there was no school happening. They did not have access to Zoom lessons and Zoom classes, so education stopped. And that's where gaps happen. So we identified that as one of the obstacles. But with every challenge and every obstacle comes an opportunity. And we used that year or two as a growth year where we could take a problem and we could find a solution and we could navigate it together with the school. Because as you said, every school's challenges are different, are unique. A lot of them are similar. And we learn and grow from each other. And that's the beautiful thing about relationship, because in having 17 schools that we partnered with, I think where we've learned some tough lessons along the way, it's not just word of mouth, oh, the school needs help, they need a library, they need a book corner, because our file is getting longer and longer and the list is getting longer. I think it takes a really dedicated and committed and invested principal, and it starts with leadership. So we now have an application process. We've got a website that we have shared all our stories on. And in that there is a form where principals can download the form and they can answer questions, and we take it from there. We then do a school visit, we get to meet the principal, the teachers, and we see how best we can assist the school based on the need. We also are very close to the librarians that we train and equip. So many of these schools do not have a library. The children have never been exposed to a library, and their nearest municipal library may be kilometers away, which is not even possible in walking distance. So for many of these learners, it's the first time they are walking into a room of information and opening that yellow door of opportunity. So all our library doors are painted yellow, and they walk into this world of information, and we call it the information station, the imagination station. Wonderful. And the center of knowledge. And they open that door of opportunity, and they can be taken and transported into anywhere in the world. Wow. So, in partnering with our librarians, I think that's also is key, because we train and we really nurture the person who has been identified by the school as librarian. Now, many of our librarians are superheroes because they are not just full-time librarian. They are actually full-time teachers who have taken on an additional role and responsibility of running a library, which is a full-time job in itself. So I think in having that community network of librarians, we have a group where it's an open communication group where I share ideas and inspiration, and they share their successes and struggles, and we learn and grow from each other. And so that's something that we've really nurtured and developed. One of our libraries in fact, a few of our libraries have won KZN Library of the Year. The first library, to be honest, I didn't even know that a competition existed. We were not running the Learn Project for accolades or acknowledgement or followers. We were doing it with a purpose and an intention and a heart for change. And the people that we've met along the way have just been amazing and have helped power us to where we are today. But in the librarians and the gold that we have in the librarians that we work through and work with, I really do feel that they have been critical to the changes that we've seen, and their willingness to learn and grow and take on additional responsibility has just been amazing. So we, in the libraries that we've opened, with Kasturba Gandhi Primary was the first school that won KZN Library of the Year.
Wow.
Now, I didn't even know that competition existed, but it was a true example of a school taking ownership of a resource that we had provided them with. So it is an ongoing partnership. We make regular visits to the schools, and that is really the highlight of my week, is walking into a library and seeing it in action. It's often not a set, I'm going to be there at this time. It can be any time, and just to see learning in action is just delightful. So Kasturba Gandhi Library was run by Nomfundo Mthethwa. She is just amazing, passionate teacher, took on the role of librarian, and she heard about this competition. So without telling me, she entered the school in KZN Library of the Year, and they won. She became KZN Librarian of the Year, and she is now our Learn Ambassador. So she heads up our Learn Libraries group and our Learn Librarians, and she is one of the most incredible women who often come and share on the Learn Project when we are going to talk at a variety of places.
So that is an absolutely incredible story. I love it when you get into a space and you introduce a concept or initiative, and in this case the school has taken full ownership, and they absolutely own this. And so if I was a headmaster of a school, I would definitely want the Learn Project to be a partner in my school, transforming my whole school. But there's hundreds of schools, and there's maybe thousands, but there's so much need out there. Are you guys inundated with requests? How do you go through the process of selecting the schools? Which school will benefit the most or will be impacted the most? How do you do it?
That is a really difficult question to ask. I think that it's critical in who we partner with that a thorough needs analysis has been done, because we want this to be a successful partnership, because we are also accountable as an NGO to our really generous donors, sponsors, and volunteers who give up their time. So we have, as I said, developed that application form, and in that's where the needs analysis starts. So firstly, we will look at the time it takes for a response to come into us. So maybe there's been a request, hi, I'm Mrs. whoever from whichever school, and we would love a library in our school. We don't have a library, and you'll get a whole story and a history and how desperate the school is for a library. We will then respond with, thank you so much for your interest in the Learn Project. Kindly fill in this application form and we will chat further. And it's through that process that the first sign is, how long does it take to come back? We're still waiting for some forms to come in. Then you can see, that's the first challenge, because we need to have reliable responses, and I think the timing of a response is quite critical. Then you'll have responses that are completed beautifully. Your email comes in and it's a thorough analysis of the school situation, including photos of an existing room that they have in mind. And you can see the school is already adapting to wanting a culture of reading in their school and wanting transformation and change. They are hungry for it, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to make it
And they've already
possible.
started taking initiative.
And they've
maybe.
already started taking initiative. So we will look at the photos that come in, and no matter how drastic these pictures are, in fact, sometimes the more drastic and bigger the challenges, the more it excites me, because I know what's possible.
Yeah.
So these pictures will come in, the school will submit the application, how many learners they have in the school, the details of the school, and then there will be a letter from, we now request a letter from the community, and a letter of recommendation from somebody that knows the school and the governing body. So we've gone into quite a lot of detail in the form requirements that have come in, but that helps us understand the school situation better. And I always say it doesn't matter the state of the school. If a particular school has more work to do and doesn't have a space that looks like it's even possible to transform, but if they've got that heart and that drive and that passion, and the principal is, you can see, hungry for this, and the teachers have already formed a literacy club. Some of the forms that come in, there's already a library committee, yet there's no actual library. But what they have done is they've collected their own books, and they've created like a little reading corner, and they've started. So that is probably key to our selection process, is firstly the timing of the application and how long it takes to come in, and the detail and care that's been put into answering the questions and the time that's gone behind that. And then our librarians are amazing, because they are so proudly Learn. We call ourselves the Learn family. When we welcome a school into our Learn beneficiary family, the librarians, the teachers, and the principals are so proudly invested in the resource that they've been given, that they would never want the brand of Learn or the heart of Learn to be impacted by a school that doesn't take care of something that's given to them. So I think word of mouth is also amazing, because you will hear truth will always come out in life, won't it?
Yeah.
So we work closely with our previous principals, and they also guide and are incredible encouragers along the way.
That's really, really awesome. So what are some of the challenges that you faced as from the inception of this initiative? What are some of the learning areas that you'd share with our viewers? There may be a school out there that is, maybe they're not going to get onto your waiting list anytime soon, but they want to start. What would you say to them? But also, what are some of the challenges that you have seen, like the real stuff on the ground that sometimes come as stumbling blocks, and how have you, over the years during this initiative, overcome those?
So there's a saying that goes, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And in co-founding the Learn project with our co-founder Lucy Pienaar, that was something that she held dear to her. Her side of the Learn story came from a visit to the Transkei. She was on holiday and went to visit some local schools. And there were learners that were sharing pencils between classes. A little girl put up her hand and said, "Please, may I be excused?" She thought that the child was going to the toilet, and the teacher said, "Oh no, she's just borrowing a pencil from her sister next door." So when we started the Learn project, that was where Lucy's perspective came from, because that just pulled at her heart, and she was like, that can't be. And from my side, it was, having just had my first child, I had stopped teaching for a period of time to be a full-time mom. I was pregnant with my second child, and just volunteering at a local community in Ananda through another organization in giving time to a preschool. Having been a grade art teacher for a number of years, I was passionate about laying a solid foundation before entering grade 1. And there were so many gaps that we needed to bridge and narrow. So in volunteering my time, I would go into this community, I would offer my time, and it really made me quite emotional. And I do remember the first day I drove out of this community, and I just started crying. and I just broke. And I just remember in that moment pausing and saying, God, use me to make a larger, more sustainable impact. I feel like I'm coming and I'm bringing hope, and I rip it the minute I walk away, and I don't come back till the next visit. So it does make me quite emotional. But I think that was my start in wanting to bring about lasting change. And then in that experience, yes, amazing changes were seen. Helping teachers with objectives and goals and reaching them was amazing. But that was the start of bringing books to schools, because in seeing the difference between a school that had a wealth of information at their fingertips and access to incredible resources, and seeing a school with heart and passion and the same drive in the teachers, but just not the same opportunity. So that was the gap that we wanted to bridge. And one of the lessons that we learned in the beginning is that you can't do everything, but you can do something. Yeah. So a lot of people in the beginning would say, oh, you can't take on the whole world, you can't take on too much, and you'll never make a big difference because the need out there is just so huge. Yeah. So I think a lot of people get discouraged with overwhelmment. They'll have a heart, they'll have a drive to do something, and then they'll feel like, well, I can't make a difference because I'm just me. Yeah. So that was the start of change, and in chatting to somebody else with a similar vision and a similar heart, putting ideas together and just going, well, we're going to start with what we have, which was not much, and we're going to do what we can, and we're going to hopefully make a big difference. And it was along the way, in trying to do, we used to collect stationery, pre-love stationery, and we used to collect pre-love books. And we quickly realized that sitting at midnight sharpening pencils and trying to collect books, readily my garage just became a massive depot warehouse of it was just incredible, the impact of donations that came in. So having all these books donated and stationery and trying to navigate both. We then, I attended a course called the Gatekeeper course, and it really impacted my journey as a leader of the Learn Project, because it guided and navigated us through the process of becoming a registered nonprofit trust. Because remember, in the beginning, it was just a heart project. It was a passion project. It still is a passion project, but we definitely had a lot to learn and a lot more to grow in. So that course really taught us the process that it would take to become a registered nonprofit trust. We met incredible organizations along the way that offered support in growth and in learning from their lessons. We had loads of discussions and conversations. I think you can learn so much through a conversation and a story, and we learned a lot through organizations of 20 years plus that have been running, 10 years plus that have been running, and we were this idea project. But we had a definite vision and a definite goal, and we were very strong in our belief that we could make a difference. We just needed help along the way in how to make it more sustainable. So that course really impacted my journey a lot as a leader of the Learn Project in establishing a well-grounded organization with a strong foundation, because you are accountable to volunteers, to donors, and to sponsors.
Wow. And also having those like-minded people who are behind you, partnering with you, it makes such a difference to be in collaboration with people who buy into your vision, who buy into the vision of this is beyond one child. This is about a community. This is about a country. This is about the world that we live in. It's shaping the world that we live in. So that's absolutely incredible. So Rosalind, what does it mean to you to live a life of purpose and to be impacting the lives of people around you?
So I think linked to purpose, Sam, is the impact that is made and the ripple effect. For me, it's the heart behind the work and the why behind the work. And the why behind the work is the lives and the stories and the narratives that are changed. One of the stories that I'd love to share with you today is still unfolding, but it's the story of a young boy who entered one of our first Learn libraries not being able to read. He was in infant phase, he could not read in English. He could read in isiZulu, but he couldn't read in English. And he joined the reading club at the school with Mr. Wiseman and Jeko, who works with the Learn Project. Now Wiseman has this incredible personality and way with words, and he is amazing at translating language and helping learners read with meaning and understanding, which is one of the critical problems our country is facing at the moment. Is it's one thing learning to read, but do you actually have an understanding of what you're reading? So this young boy was in 2016 grade 7 and entered the neighboring high school. We stayed in contact with him. Wiseman became a mentor to him. And in moving on to high school, having learned to read, having gone through our reading club, entered literacy quizzes, we quickly realized that this was a really incredible child with exceptional potential. He entered high school, and last year we got a call to say the top 5 learners in this particular high school all said that they were, in every grade, said that they were from the neighboring school and that they had been through a program with the Learn Project, and they were asking what is the Learn Project and who is this Wiseman guy, because they say they were part of his reading club. Now that for me just shows the power of reading and transformation and change, because to have learners excelling and to have a consistent number per grade that were in the top percentage of that grade, all having come through the same program, something must be happening that is good, and we must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've always seen I've known that why, and that why is very close to my heart, and I've seen the change in schools, and I'm passionate about sharing the story. And you can have an Instagram page, and you can share beautiful photos, and you can share this library was done, and this is the before and this is after. But seeing a change come to life in a learner that entered grade 4 not being able to read and has just passed with 7 distinctions.
Incredible.
His dream was to go to UCT and to study, and what we love is that his fiction story and this dream of going on an aeroplane for the first time and entering a university and studying to change his stories, his family's history and his family's story, just where that story has led itself today to 7 distinctions, accepted into UCT, and his journey that he's on now, he's just gone to UCT, and it's just something that really makes me excited, because he wasn't the only one. He was one of many. He was top 10 in his district. Just in chatting to him, he attributes that to the time that was invested and the resources that were given and access to his first book. He said that book that he took home from the library, because every learner gets a library bag sewn by a local community, and that first book that he took home, he still remembers the title of the book, and we've been journeying with him, and in hearing his story, he takes it right back to the day he walked into that library for the first time, the time that was invested through Mr. Njeka believing in him. And he still talks today about how so many children would laugh and say, you're wasting your time trying to spend so many hours on books, because you'll never be able to go to Cape Town, and is that even possible? And I love that his fiction has become a non-fiction now, because the whole narrative's changed.
It's a real story.
A real life example, living example to the children at a school. So we actually visited his primary school last week, and he went back into his maths class, and he sat at the desk he used to sit in, and he was in the B class for maths. And to end up with a distinction in matric, and he attributes a lot of that to he never fully understood what they were asking of him in the questions.
Yeah.
But as he grew and developed his vocabulary, it changed the power of the detail that he could answer the questions in.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's what it's all about. When I think about the work of impact and the impact that organizations such as yourselves make, I think of one person's life that you could change, but that having the power of transforming an entire community. So that is a really powerful story. And I love the power of stories, which is why you're here today sharing this story and sharing information. So if anybody wants to get involved as a partner, as a beneficiary, as a donor, how does that work? How can our viewers at home get involved in what you do?
So we welcome volunteers with open arms. We honestly couldn't do what we do without the help of people that are invested in bringing about change in our country. And I think that's the joy and the motivation behind what we do, is bringing people together and bringing about change. So how can you help? Start where you are. You may have really little time, you're really busy, you're in a full-time job, but you do have financial means that you could contribute, and you'd like to make a monthly contribution or a once-off donation. That would help us in buying more books and covering these books in plastic and in resourcing schools. You may have time on your hands. Now, time is an incredible resource to give, and there are many ways that you can offer your help and time to the Learn Project. One being helping us clean and place stickers in the books, helping us cover books, and helping us set up and transform spaces into beautiful places where learning can be nurtured and developed. We also have fundraisers and events that we do where we bring people together and we share the stories behind the end product of what we do with Learn. But we do have a website. It's www.thelearnproject.co.za, and there is our whole story on there. You can download our story, you can click on our beneficiary schools, and there is a picture for every beneficiary school that we have, and you can click on that picture and it opens and takes you into the world of that school with a video of the transformation of that school and a gallery of photos where you can see what it looked like before, and it can take you to the after. So for any more information, I would really encourage you to take the time to look at the website, because most of the answers are there. Otherwise, you can contact us and we will get in touch. But the power of a book, the power of time, and the time that is put into making life better for others.
Yeah, and all this to educate the Rainbow Nation one library at a time. I absolutely love this concept. And so just in parting, what are you dreaming up for the next phase, for the future, for the Learn Project? What are your dreams? What are you working on? What can we look forward to?
I think the ultimate dream big goal is to put a book in the hand of every child today so they can reach their full potential tomorrow. That is our vision behind the Learn Project. We would love to open more library doors and to be able to assist every application that came with the dream of a library in bringing about change. One book has the power to transform many lives, not just the one child that's reading it for the first time. That book gets passed on. It's the power of that child taking that book home and reading it to family and sharing the power of story, the confidence that is built, and that love of reading that we hope to instill in children. So, yeah.
So thank you so much for your time today, Roslyn. This episode has been so informative, and it's been just so interesting listening to you sharing more about what you do at the Learn Project and all the lives that your initiative is impacting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it. In Rosalind's words, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episodes. It's been so inspiring, and there's been so much information that we can go back to and learn. We'll catch up with you again next week in our next episode.